accolades, and the accolades should be given to those that performed here earlier. My hat's off, and I usually wear this hat, and I'll tell you why. My hat's off to all the honorees. Oh, yes. And the people putting on this one wonderful event. When Julia called me and said, we'd like you to come to be a keynote speaker in Connecticut. Yeah? Okay, I'll come. If you give me a chance to talk and open my mouth, I'll come. That's my forte right there. And she said, you mind speaking 2 days? Yeah, okay. So I spoke 2 days. One new hand and now here. One of the problems you have with speaking twice in the same community is you don't say the same things twice. Now, some of you are going to hear from me, and I hope it's good as it was last night. I understand that they enjoyed what I said last night, but now you're going to have to hear it for a second time.
That's all right.
Okay?
It must be that good.
I'm not like a rapper. I can't come back and repeat it twice. But I'll do my best. Okay? First I want to say hello to Laura, my friend Laura's up front, and the parents of one of the honorees, and I told her I was going to mention her. So she told me to watch my road rage when I'm driving. But let me start by saying I wish that Henry Winston was here today. I wish he was here today to hear what's going on in this country that we believe is free. And the country is not free. Those of us believe it's free, but it's not. We need his voice today, his clarity, his vision for the future to help to guide us. Looking at Brother Winston's life, we are justified to say that all times are troubling, and all times has its rewards through struggle. Now, saying that, I look at what's happening to our country today in terms of racism, which is one of the themes of this convention, right? And racism, I want you to know, is alive and well in this country. It's alive and well. It hasn't gone away. And we would probably say, but we've been through this struggle already, so we'd be going forward. But we're not going forward. We seem to be standing still or going backwards. We watched the Republican Party denigrate our president that we voted for in office. We watch him call him Hitler. Nobody responds. We watch him say all kinds, point fingers in his face, call him a liar. Nobody responds. We sit quiet. Quiet. I don't know how to do that to our president. And I'm very compassionate about our president. I told him when I met him for the first time, I said, and I know, I'm not on the same level with him. I'm not as articulate as he is. I'm not all the things that he is, but he is our leader.
That's right.
Okay? He is our leader.
That's right.
Not black folks, not Hispanic folks. Everybody's leader. Okay? And we allow him to be denigrated like they didn't do it to Bush, as terrible as he was. They didn't do it to Nixon. And none of those presidents got beat up like he's been beaten up. Okay? And he's still getting beat up. And I told him the only thing that you can do, Barack, is to stand tall. Stand tall. Don't waver. You know, stand tall and face them now. Stand tall. It took him a while to get going, but he's getting going. You know why it took him a long time? His party didn't even defend him. His party's not even defending him. The Democrats are just as much to blame for what's happening to him as Republicans, the Conservatives, the Tea Party, you name them. They are responsible for what's happening to him. Okay? So we have to understand and remember. And when my members come to me and others come to me and say, oh, you ain't going good. And the first thing I ask them, are you registered to vote? And most of them say they're not. Then don't complain to me.
That's right.
Don't speak to me. If you're not registered to vote or haven't voted, don't speak to me. You can't say anything to me. Register and vote. When you're a registered voter, then you can talk to me. And we can talk about why things are happening. Henry Winston was born in poverty in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, at a time when African Americans could not find reasonable employment other than sharecropping or menial labor, slave wages. African Americans could not speak out without the threat of violence or death. And that was true in them times. You know, I remember when I joined the service, my father wanted me to go to college. He came to this land looking for an opportunity, but he made one thing he made sure, and I come from a family of 10 kids. He said he wanted me to do better. He wanted all of us to do better than he did. He didn't want us to be doctors or lawyers. He would like us to be, but he wanted us to do better. Just a little better than he did. And we can't ask our kids to do that today. My son went to Temple University, graduated. Can they do better? Can they find a job? Can our kids find work? No. That's what gave rise to Occupy Wall Street. That's why those kids are out there. That's why they did it. And when they went out there, they woke up the union, who should have been out there first.
That's right. That's right.
Some of us who call ourselves labor leaders are not really labor leaders. But they're just as bad as corporate America because it gets like this.
That's right.
It gets like this. And I speak to them and I don't care if they don't like me. I tell them the truth. You want to do something. You got elected to an office and you're supposed to work and protect the working people in this country. And your members especially. And if you don't do that, you're not doing anything. You don't deserve to be where you are. Okay? The same thing about elected officials that we put in office, whether they're in Washington or in our communities as council people or whatever you call them. Most of them get in office by 50 or 100 votes in our community. Did you know that? Most of these council people right here, in New York is council people, but you call them out here something the same thing. They represent the community, come out of it. And they're just getting in by 50 votes, 100 votes. And they're slim margins, okay? And what we did in New York, we called them in. And we wanted to have report cards on every one of you. We want to know how you vote on everything, whether you're absent or whether you show up. We want to know how you vote. And if you don't vote in our best interest, you don't get reelected.
Right.
You don't get our vote.
That's right. That's right.
So if they won by 50 to 100 votes and we've got 300 members living in that particular community, the 300 members are not voting for you. And you're going to lose that election. So when they come in begging for money to run their campaigns, we don't give it to them. We don't want to. You show us what you're going to do for us and show us how good you are, then you got our support. Like we expect your support when you're in office. So we do that constantly. We're rebuilding our union. We build re-energizing workers, people who have lost faith, people who feel disenchanted, disheartening, folks that have worked for 15, 20 years and now losing their jobs, don't know where they're going to get a job from tomorrow. And we encourage them to keep fighting, keep fighting. It might take a little longer, but we got to keep fighting and fighting to get back the piece of the pie that belongs to us. Henry's speech was infectious to people, like I hope that speech is infectious to people. He had a booming laugh that could be heard across any room. He also tipped the glass a little bit. But I can't drink what he could drink, that stuff is strong. He was sharp. When blinded due to racist neglect while in prison on trumped-up charges during the McCarthy period, terrible period, his vision and insight grew more powerful and far-reaching, threatening to those who wanted workers to accept misery and hopelessness. He loved a good joke and was able to relax with his friends. He always had encouraging words for young activists, like those of you that are here, the leaders of tomorrow, the young folks. Remember, one day you're going to be where I am, leading people. Did I know when I came from 112th Street in Harlem, where I grew up, that I would be leading people? You know, I knew that I had some quality in me. I didn't know if it was leadership quality, but I went into the Marine Corps and I saw racism at its worst. And I was 17 years old. And when I got my mother signed me into it, my father didn't want to sign me into the service because he said I didn't raise a son to go kill people that never did anything to him. And I would refuse to sign the papers for me to go into service. But my mother did because she didn't want me to go to jail, fighting in the streets somewhere. I I had to do something, so she signed me in. And I went in and I saw poverty and I saw the world as it really is. I saw imperialism and the arm of this country spread in other countries that I went to. I saw how it impacted on those folks there. You think that poverty is bad here, go to some of those other countries and actually see what poverty is. Go to these countries that are producing goods that they bring back here to sell us, that they're working for peanuts, and bring back to sell it to us, and we don't have jobs. And I figured that out. That doesn't make sense. But that's what they do. And I saw it. And I'm fighting, I'm going to Korea to fight for a country that I'm supposed to be bailing out, and I can't drink at the same fountain that they drink. And that was when I went to South. We couldn't drink out the same fountain. We couldn't go to the same bathroom that they went to. If we stopped to eat, I had to go to the back door rather than the front door. And a lot of that is prevalent right now. They don't want you in their places. They don't want you to be where they are. The 1% is the 1% in this country is very, very powerful folks who are making sure that they want to step back 5 or 6 paces to take us back to yesterday rather than going forward to tomorrow, and they will do that. And now they're so blatant, they say it on TV, they say it in the news, they just say it. And we got Fox News just pushing it, and they put, the people are pushing it all over, and we sit back and giggle a little bit. There ain't time to giggle, we got to get mad.
That's right.
We got to get mad. Because our children, most of us, are at stake here. The future children are at stake here. Some of us who worked hard and now expect to lay back and relax and enjoy retirement can't even retire. We're still out here fighting and digging and trying to make things right. I just heard about some black history here that I didn't know about here in Connecticut that I didn't know about. I want to know more. But we need to know what our history is, whether you're black, Hispanic, Jew, Gentile. You need to know the history of this country. And if we don't know that, we can't do anything about what's happening to us. We need to know that, but we got to watch. We had sports even. We got this kid, Lynn, who came to the Knicks. This Asian young man who came to the Knicks. And they even portrayed him as a joke. A joke. Then you see a fortune cookie with his head popping about a fortune cookie. Nobody said anything. Nobody spoke out. They're doing that to us every day. And we don't speak out. And we need to start to speak out. Because we won't be able to very soon. They're going to take that voice from us soon. You see what they're trying to do. They treat women and abuse women's rights like a piece of garbage, Women's rights, they're trying to take away your rights as a woman. The terrible stuff that they're doing. And we sit back, say nothing, So, but we got to start to wake up and fight back. My union represents subsidized daycare, Head Start, home care, social service, direct care workers, and represents the largest Jewish philanthropies in the nation. We were born from the organizing efforts of the philanthropies and the social service workers of these agencies. From 1707, local, that we started at, we grew to District Council 1707 with 7 locals involved in the whole organization. We have always paid tribute to the visionaries of the nonprofit workers who stood their ground and formed unions despite heavy opposition from employers who included dating and threats to livelihood because we wanted to organize. And that's always the case. Okay. But we are not the unionized group of workers that work for municipalities, in a sense. We're not the public sector workers. We're non-for-profit workers. We don't work for the city direct. We work for the agencies who get funded these programs, and we organize them. So we didn't organize them to a political effort with the city or the state that housed them. We went and organized the agencies. All these agencies, we organized them. And we did a great job. And now these agencies are being ripped apart because of defunding. And so the agencies now coming to the union and say, help us. And the one thing that I've learned about everybody is that if you don't own a business, even if you own a business, you're not in charge of nothing. You work. You're a worker. You're a worker just like I'm a worker. We all workers. We work for something or someone. I work for my members. I represent 1,600,000 members around the country through AFSCME. I'm the vice president. I have 30,000 members I directly represent in New York City. I'm the vice president of AFL-CIO in New York City State. The CLC, Central Labor Body, I'm the vice president. All of these things, and if I don't use those positions to foster what I believe is the right thing to do, it'll never get done. If I don't encourage others who have positions that I have to do it, it won't get done. It won't get done. And so I do that a lot. I speak a lot. And when I joined AFSCME, and I had an opportunity to speak to Jerry McEntee, who's the president of AFSCME, and I told him when I became the executive director of 1707 and he came to swear us in, I said, Jerry, you know who I am and what I am. As long as you don't bother me, I won't bother you. If you don't play ball right in my backyard, don't come here. I represent my members, not Washington. I pay per capita, you protect us. You don't protect us, you won't get any per capita from me and my members. So he understood that right off. And we had a relationship. And whenever I go to board meeting, they raise something that might be contrary to what they're used to doing. They always look down the table at me to see what I'm going to say. You know, and if I have something to say, I'll say it. If I don't, I say, not this time. You know, it got to be a joke. Like, what is Raglan going to say this time? You know, but I've got along with them, and they've got along with me. I've changed some minds on the board. And one of my good friends, some of my good friends on the board that are vice presidents, work with me and talk to me about some of the things that maybe I should be raising, because some of them are afraid to raise them, but I raise them. I raise them in a minute. So the struggle of these workers were not as violent as some of the early organizational struggles in the coal industry, auto workers and teamsters, but harrowing because social workers and secretaries carried their union banner proudly, without fear of retribution. Winston felt that industrial workers would be the front line of any proletariat successes. But if he knew the character of these workers, many of whom are women who are of color and heads of households, he would admire their perseverance and their fighting spirit. And he knows, because women have now come to the fore. Women's suffrage has come a long way. You ain't just walking 2 steps behind anymore. You're walking on all sides. You're not in front. AFSCME has proven that the greater majority of members of our union, AFSCME, are women. The majority of 97% of the members of my union that I represent in New York are women. And they control a lot and say a lot. And I listen to them. They say the things that I would be saying. Most of them are like my daughters and mothers anyway. You know, they beat me up, make sure that I say the right thing. But they are great people. But AFSCME is controlled by a lot of women, and more so now than ever before. And they vote. A lot of women vote. And I don't understand how the Republican Party and the right wing of this country, be it the Tea Party or whoever they are, can just neglect them. Neglect you. Just say things that they want to say about you, because like you're not going to do anything about it. That you are not going to vote. And we need to talk about that. The struggle for freedom for jobs and for the restructuring the way America works in 2012 is developing a popular front against some of the most sinister forces of capital and big business, from the Tea Party, who has been financed by the billionaire Koch brothers, to the ugliest bunch of Republican candidates who ever hit the campaign trail. We'll have to fight hard to keep them out of office. As bad as President George Bush was, this crop is to the right of him. Imagine, to the right of him. They repeatedly demonstrate a brutal arrogance toward working people. Without hesitation, they spew racist attributes against African Americans and our Latino brothers and sisters. They save their words for women with their, I can't even pronounce this word, but I'm telling you, it's bad. It's bad what they say about women, and you hear it every day. You watch television. You watch that. I told my members, stop watching Basketball Wives.
That's right.
Watch Ed Troops. Watch somebody that's going to give you the news in the proper way. Watch it, but you ain't going to make it watching Basketball Wives.
That's right. That's right.
Wrapping themselves in a flag and backward religious doctrines that desire to strip women of their dignities and control their bodies. Can you imagine? You remember it was just weeks ago that former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, was promoting young black children to become janitors in their schools at low wages or no wages, and this insane politics continues on and on.
Yes.
That's what they say about our kids.
Yes.
You know, when I was a young man and I was in public school, I had a teacher that told me, why do you want to study so hard? You're only going to be a janitor. I remember that. It stayed with me all my life. And what I did was, every time I did something positive with my life, I would come back and tell about it. I'd come back and tell about it. I joined Junior Achievement. Remember, does anybody know about Junior Achievement? Junior Achievement, where I was one of the key stockholders, and I was running this mock corporation young children put together. And I went back and said, I'm the CEO. Anything that I could do to go back to tell her. She's probably dead now and gone, but I nailed it on every time I could. You know, I would come back and let her know. But this is what they would do. And if Winston was here today, he would bring all of us together with his conscious insight, and he would not hesitate to engage and listen to young people of the Occupy movement who brought new energy to the labor movement and clarity to people hungry for action against the rich and powerful. And they're out there. His passion was to help young people find new paths to help working families. But Henry Winston is here today. Of course, a lot of us remember him. Some of us remember his history. We remember him. And if I remember him, I'm going to make you remember him. We're going to make all of you remember him. Okay? Just as we remember Martin Luther King and all these other, Malcolm X and all these, we're going to make you remember these people. You know, these people who moved this country. We remember him. We must promote his legacy, the next generation, so that the 200th celebration of his birth will be even more significant to a better society that we're all hoping for. And thank you for having me.